fly, sweet tea sipping under a hot pink sky. The rocking chair creaks like it knows our sins. Where gossip starts and the truth begins. Bless your heart, ain't what you think. It's a shot of sass and a sugar drink. Stay salty, shout, loud, be proud. Bless your heart, but don't back down. Paint peeling off the weathered wood. She'll cut you deep, but it's for your good. Underneath that floral print smile, she's a wildfire hiding all the while. She says, hush now, honey, then drops a bomb and leaves you wondering what went wrong. Bless your heart, ain't what you think. It's a side-eye smirk and a slow wink. Stay salty, shout, loud, be proud. Bless your heart, but don't back down.
Hey y'all, it's Mamaw and a good morning to you. Thank you for joining me again this Sunday morning for Coffee with Mamaw. As you'll notice, we're in the house because it's just too damn cold to be on the porch. So for the winter, this will be my space. The doors behind me, Papa, let me go up here a little bit. See, he made barn doors out of them. He rescued these beautiful cherry doors out of a dumpster where they were tearing an old house down, and he refinished them and even put antique fixtures on them. You can see there. They're just beautiful. Goes out to the back patio. Well, good morning, Guy and Renee, Linda. Now, Linda, we can't do the Chargers. Oh, well, it is football Sunday. So I want to thank all of you for your support while I'm on the porch. We're just growing exponentially, and I ask you to keep sharing and asking people to follow and join, because the more people that follow me, the more clout that we have with our candidates and having them do things the way we want to do, and getting people to go vote and getting people, the right people, into office. So, well, thank you, Renee. Yes, it is chilly. Who dey, Brenda? Okay, so this week, I'm so excited. I'll be traveling with Papa to Kentucky to have a coffee with Mamaw off the porch with Amy McGrath. Colonel McGrath is running for the Senate seat that'll be vacated by Mitch McConnell, and God knows we've got a lot of damage to repair from Moscow Mitch's tenure in the Senate. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm just as nervous as I can be, but we'll just be two old veterans talking, is what my hope is. Then I have a Zoom coffee lined up in November with Reverend Dr. Caleb Lyons. You'll notice that I put his, and that's Lines, not like the animal. Remember, I have an accent. But anyway, I'll be talking to Reverend Lyons, and I'm real excited about that because a lot of us live what's typically called the Bible Belt, and faith has been hijacked by the MAGA cultists. We are not white nationalists, white so-called Christian nationalists. If you believe a certain way, it needs to be the proper way and using the Bible correctly and not a la carte cherry picking. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from him and talking with him. And like I said, you notice I do post his stuff because he's really informative and good. Then I have an interview lined up with Todd Achilles, another veteran, and he's running for Senate out in Idaho. He's running as an independent, and I kind of like his take on that, along the lines of Bernie Sanders and Angus King. So I think that will be really exciting to see. So I have that lined up, and I've got quite a few others in the queue. I will also be interviewing John Kulowitz next week. John is running for Attorney General here in Ohio, and he's got a very interesting story, and he's going to tell us what an Attorney General for a state should be doing, because I'm telling you, here in Ohio, they ain't doing it. So I'm really looking forward to those that I've got lined up and having my coffee. Um, I also want to thank you all for your kindness and patience. Shelley, who's my she's the shadow. She's the behind the scenes, keeping everything running smooth. I absolutely could not do this without her help. And she and I are learning this technology as we go. I'm considerably older than Shelley, but it's hard for us in a certain age group to not only learn the technology of the actual hardware, we have to learn the technology of all this different software and all these different platforms that we're on. And I'm grateful because this has certainly grown a whole lot faster than we had anticipated. So bless your hearts, and I mean that as a compliment this time, for being so patient with us. And I do truly appreciate that, because we're learning. We're going to be working with Ohio University to help teach us how to better use these platforms. Let's see. And a special thanks to Jeremy Barker for the mic and technical help and mentoring. He's helping us. He's got his own business and Obscure Mics. If you ever look it up on YouTube, it's actually a very interesting show that he has about different technology and mics, especially for home casters. And to Brenda Aubrey of Artsy Aubrey's. She does all of my merch. She's done all of the designing. She hosts it. For any subscribers, she will have a special code for you. You just got to PM to get the code so that my merchandise will be at a discount. But all that merchandise that I have, the cups, the shirts, and all, is from Brenda. So I really appreciate. Now, Tuesday the 28th will be our regular weekly live roundup. If I'm running late, I'll just do something from the car, because I got to drive from Kentucky back home to do that. So this week, thank you, Terry, I'm trying. Listen, this is hard, especially when you're doing it. Do y'all watch the Kelsey Brothers? Or the I've Had It ladies, or Politics girls? Well, they've all got somebody on the other side of the camera you don't see doing all this stuff on mixing boards. What you see here is I'm here desperately either on my cell phone or laptop trying to figure this out, and Shelly's at a different location trying to help me or sending me messages and stuff, and that's it. All the editing that you see on my shorts and stuff, I'm doing it with my old fumble fingers, and it's hard. But we're going to do it because this is important. This is really important. Well, good morning, Pam. And let's see who just popped up from New Jersey. Barb from Florida, thank you. How's Mikey Sherrill doing in New Jersey? I heard that race had really tightened up. Okay, so this week, ta-da, we're going to be talking about the sin of greed. Now, can you just imagine that I'm using the term greed in the same sentence as the taco? Well, my goodness, not the taco. Greed is one of the 7 deadly sins in Christian theology, defined as the immoderate love or desire for riches and earthly possessions. It can also be greedy for fame, attention, power, or anything else that feeds one's own selfishness. As a deadly sin, greed is believed to spur other sins and further immoral behavior. In Catholic theology, it is countered with the heavenly virtue of charity or generosity. The concept of greed has been the subject of discussion and interpretation throughout history. It is also associated with a desire for material wealth and the neglect of spiritual growth. Greed is not only a personal sin, but a societal issue as it can lead to corruption and exploitation. Does that sound familiar to y'all? Surely not. Okay, so Trump wants to live surrounded by gold. Have y'all seen what he has done to the Oval Office? That's so gaudy it looks like an old French whorehouse in the 1800s. I swear to God, I have never seen anything so gaudy in my whole entire life. That looks awful. I know he thinks he's competing with Pootie Poo Putin, but he ain't. It looks horrible. And not only that, everything he has to be the biggest. He ain't seen that biggest thing in years. Everything has to be the very best, the very best. It's not. It's cheap. Ask anybody. It's bought his merch coming from China, and it's cheap ass shit. Hell, his watches won't even work. And he must always be the winner, no matter what. He claims to be the winner. Well, dude, in 2020, you were the loser. You have lost so many things. You are currently the loser in the United States of America because people have had it with your shit already and you've only been in office 10 months. You're a loser. And anybody supporting you is a loser. At this date and time, if you still support what Taco's doing, God rest your soul because you fall along in greed and you're a loser. I'm not running for office. I can say that. He demands payment for favor. He also goes after those, because he has to be a winner, that he feels have personally slighted him, and he is using our U.S. Justice Department to do that. Can you imagine weaponizing and using the resources, because hell, the government shut down as it is, so he's using the resources of the United States government to go after people he's all butthurt about, instead of growing up, putting on his big boy pants and getting over it. Let's see. He demands payment for favor with political endorsements. Now I want y'all to remember way back when Jimmy Hamill, remember that's J.D. Vance, was running for U.S. Senate here in Ohio. And he was behind in the polls until his former mentor, Peter Thiel, the billionaire from California, went to Mar-a-Lago and paid the sum of $10 million. That's all fact. And J.D. Vance got the MAGA endorsement. And he won that race, and then he was chosen after some more political money passed hands to be the vice president. That's the kind of thing he does. Everybody pays. Bernie Moreno here in Ohio, old Bernardo. He sold his luxury car business. He was in cryptocurrency. He is an immigrant from Colombia. His brothers are still bigwigs in Colombia. And he paid in cryptocurrency and taught the taco about cryptocurrency. All this is fact, people. And so that's how Bernie has gotten in such good graces. Oh, the corruption lives on. Anyway, Taco, has defied all the rules and laws to build his throne room in the middle of the government shutdown and financial collapse. He's torn down the whole East Wing. He keeps holding up these AI drawings of his throne room. People, those aren't blueprints. Those are not electrical schematics. Those are not plumbing plans. Those are not the civil engineers drilling down to find out if they need piering, if whatever's going on with the soil. That does not go through a planning commission or the GSA. Those are just his little pretty drawings. Where's the prints? Where are the approvals? Where was the congressional approval? Even though he claims this is all going to be by donation, Congress still has to approve what he's doing to the people's house. And they got to make sure the money is already there. Where's he storing the money? Where's this money being housed? There are a lot of questions that little old Mikey Johnson, the grinder boy. I just love my women on. I've had enough. Mikey Grinder Johnson. That'll be what we'll start calling him. Um, Call in Congress and find this stuff out. So, in order to make sure that Congress wouldn't back out on him, this is what I think's going on. Before he got anything done, he tore that wing down, the east wing, so that once it's torn down, you got to put something back in its place. That's the kind of tantrum that shit did. He tore that down, and now it's like, now you can't say no. We got to put something there. You wait and see. You just wait and see. That's exactly what he did. Anyway, so he claims he's got all these donors. We don't know where the money's being stored. My mic keeps falling. I hope y'all can hear. But here is the companies that have determined that they have so much money, and they're not hiring people, but they have so much money they can donate. The Altria Group, Amazon, Apple, Booz Allen Hamilton, Caterpillar, Coinbase, Comcast, Hard Rock International, Google, HP, Lockheed Martin, Meta, Micron Technology, Microsoft, Next Era Energy, Plantar Technologies, Ripple, Reynolds American, T-Mobile, Tether, Union Pacific Railroad, who doesn't like to pay their union members, J. Pepe and Amelia Fanjul, Adelson Family Foundation, Stephen Brody, Betty Wold Johnson Foundation, Charles and Marissa Carelia, Edward and Sherry Glazer, Harold Ham, Benjamin Leon, the Lutnick family, the Laura and Isaac Perlmutter Foundation, Stephen Schwartzman, Kostin Sokolov, Kelly Loeffler, remember she ran for for Senate in Georgia, and Jeff Sprecher, Paulo Tiamani, Cameron Winklevoss, and Tyler Winklevoss. Now, said the names that are out there. First of all, foundations are supposed to be for charity. This is really a stretch. A lot of people in there, where it's just people, have tried to run for office or have political agendas. But the main bulk of those people want government contracts. Now, is this a conflict of interest? Are we buying and currying favor for government contracts with these donations? And again, where's this donated money being housed to be spent on this building? These are questions, by golly, I'd be asking if I were in Congress. But Congress needs to be in session to ask them. These companies claim to not want to pay for union wages. Very few of those companies are union, except for the Lockheed Martin and Pacific. And the company that demolished the East Wing was non-union. I bet you they weren't licensed, and I hope they got their money up front, because that's one of Taco's favorite things. Taco wants these people to live in a society, that's us, in which the rich oligarchs own us, and we are beholden to King Taco and the oligarchs who support him. With greed, there is never enough. And if y'all remember the old song, I Owe My Soul to the Company Store, that's where they want to get us. What they're doing is they're taking away our health care rights. They're taking away our food. This is an old strategy that even goes back to the Middle Ages. So if you've got a starving population, if you've got a sick population, you're going to bend them to your will in order to get that care that they need, in order to get the food that they need. He is trying to bend us to his will. We went grocery shopping today. The grocery bill was astronomical. We're on a fixed income. But I'm telling you what, we're not going to bend to his will. He's going to FAFO. You wait and see. especially next year when we get these congressmen in that will follow things. So let me get to some of my people that have joined me on the porch. So let me back up here. Y'all have to apologize for my reading. I wish I could see y'all and you could see me, that we had some kind of technology with Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, if you're listening in, that would be a great thing to do, like with Zoom. Heather, I'll tell you what, this is Heather Cradlebaugh. It's not so much tearing down the whole White House, but if you know anything about building and foundations and that stuff, once you take away an addition, because property, houses, and buildings are kept together by equal and opposing forces. So you have all of them pushing together. And when you do an addition, the East Wing and the West Wing have become equal and opposing forces, because remember, they've also tunneled underneath all of the White House and the wings for security reasons and stuff. So we've got basements and sub-basements. So we got some structural issues, and the East Wing acted as buttresses. Am I getting too technical? So they've acted as buttresses to hold that together. We now have taken away one of the buttresses that provided equal and opposing force, and so it's gone. So you've got this force pushing. You've got unstable ground now because you've removed this East Wing, and so structurally, are we going to get cracks in the White House and down in the tunneling system? Are we going to have, when we get some rains, leaking in the tunneling system? Windows and doors going to still be able to open? So the structural instability may come from taking that away and not having a buttressing next to it. Of course, if we had engineering reports and a true bona fide architectural drawings, they would have already taken that into account, and they would have supported that structure before they tore the other structure down, at least in my humble knowledge and opinion. And I'm just an old mamaw. What the hell do I know? So that was a very good question, Heather. Connie, the taco is allowed to break so many laws because Mikey Grinder Johnson allows it. Period. Plain and simple. Whatever has happened to them men, I guess when they walk in through the gates of Congress anymore, the taco collects his dues, and it's their testicles. That's all I can figure out. Because I'm telling you, there is no Speaker of the House in history that acquiesced their power to the executive the way Mikey has. He quivers in his shoes. He is scared to death of the taco. He's scared to death of the release of the Epstein files, which has got me wondering what in the world's going on. And what's going on with that kid that he calls him his adopted son, but didn't legally adopt him, and he didn't legally file in as a foster parent, and he don't want anything to do with Mikey. I'm really getting uncomfortable with Mr. Johnson. And remember, Denny Hassert sits in prison because they found out them boys talking about Denny Hassert on the wrestling team had merit and turned out to be true. Okay, Mikey, your play. So that's all I can figure, Connie, and unfortunately that's where my mind goes these days. Hey, Cindy. And I want you all to notice I shouldn't have any hiccups with my internet. Got a whole new system. It's called a mesh system. So a whole new system putting my rural internet out here, and things so far, knock on wood, have been running a much more smoothly. Yeah, Carmel, non-union workers, and that is outrageous. We support our union workers, or at least the area I'm from. There's a reason they're in the union, and everybody can roll their eyes and bitch and moan. They have to go through a lot of training, and they have to know their OSHA. They have to know their materials. They go through rigorous training and stuff. And why any of the daggum union memberships ended up supporting and voting for Taco defies logic, because Joe Biden's the one who put them back to work and increased their memberships, and that's a fact. And if you're the member of any union and you're supporting Taco, hang on to your ass because you're going to be in a food line in a pretty short order. Okay, let me go on up here and get some more questions. Yes, Betsy, it is absolutely a pay to play, and that's what they're doing. But it also begs to differ. If you can afford to pay for a throne room as a company, you can afford to pay for more workers or take care of the workers you've got. Gene, I'm glad you're staying salty. We all got to stay salty. Yeah, listen. Wendy, when it comes to the taco and Christianity, to even say them in the same sentence makes me want to wash my mouth out with soap. There is nothing Christian about that man, and the very fact that so-called faith leaders laid hands on him and anointed him just gripes my butt. That's why we're doing the 7 deadly sins. You know, they got on Ronald Reagan's case just for doing something as simple as, being a divorced man. Oh my God. And then everything Taco does, they excuse because he's getting us what we want. No, he wanted your damn vote. He ain't going to get you shit. He is the embodiment of all of them. You got that right, Bobby Joe. Maureen, you're right. None of us are going to bend the knee. We don't have to. Susan, good morning in Ashland, Oregon. You got up early. Thank you very much. Barbara, I don't know about the bunker. That's what I'm saying. All that's tunneled underneath there, and they've made it unstable. And once you collapse, and that heavy equipment, collapse one section of tunneling, I don't know what they're going to do because people drop down out of the east wing to get into the main bunker. So I don't know. Bobby Joe, it's I'm trying, but thank you for your patience. And let's see, Alice. Yeah, I'm just really thinking that Taco, being the great builder that he is, no, he's a chiseler and he never paid people and he didn't build shit. But I'll guarantee you, everything he built in New York City, he had permits for, he had architectural drawings for, he had engineering drawings, they had soil, he knew how deep his footers had to be, the whole 9 yards. He didn't get by with that here in New York or anywhere else he's built a golf course, which tells me he just tore that down, so it was the point of no return. They had to do something. Sandy, thank you for donating. Yes, anyone, especially in Appalachia, all of our food banks are in desperate need. Some people have done a food drive, but actually people that run the food bank said they much prefer cash donations because they know what they need to buy and they can buy food that's workable. For those of you who have church giving boxes, make sure you put easy food in there. Don't put stuff in there that you won't eat. Put in easy food in there for children. My husband and I make sure it's got the snap top on the lids. Things like, and it's not good nutrition, but it's something they can put in their bellies. Things like Vienna sausages, things like canned beans things they can eat without having to have access to heating it up, because some of them may be in households without utilities. So please think along those lines when you put things in there. Little treats where they can get that are nutritious, but they don't have to be refrigerated and they don't have to be cooked. That's what they need in those giving boxes. Oh yes, him doing his YMCA dance in Malaysia. Everybody knows he's a fool. He doesn't realize everybody's making fun of his stupid ass. I'm telling you, the man's a fool. Yes, he's cruelty dressed up in power. Most of what he is doing, most of what this so-called Christian nationalist bunch is doing, all of what ICE is doing with Tom Holman, who claims to be a devout Catholic, no you're not, is nothing but cruelty. Cruelty is the point. This is no different than what the brown shirts and the SS did in Germany. And I am going to say it. I'm tired of people dancing around with it and saying, well, it's like, no, it isn't. It's the exact same thing. He has read the books. He knows exactly, well, he didn't read. Somebody read it to him. Probably had story time for Taco. Cruelty is the point, because what he wants to start blazing in your mind is, if you want to eat, if you want health care, you got to bend the knee. If you cross me, if you talk bad about me, pay attention. Look what I'm already doing, and I'm going to do it to you. That's his point. He is trying to mentally abuse all of us into fear. Well, you know what? We're Americans, and we built this country because we're not afraid of shit like that. I ain't afraid. If you take my old butt, if I'm a threat to you, well, you've got a whole lot of other more. Well, he does have other issues, doesn't he, girls? So, get over it, Taco. I will take my last breath after you take yours. Yes, and it is cold. So if any of y'all have coats, mittens that are really good and serviceable, laundries will collect those. Police departments, get those babies warm, because it's going to be a long, cold winter. And for all of us, anybody that's a senior, anybody that's on a fixed or limited income, everything is going up in price except what we're getting. And with this government shutdown, I'm imagining that within the next month or so, they're going to stop with those. Good news that I read out of the Military Times, though, where there's been appeals for veterans for their benefits, they wanted to stop those. Well, as y'all know, they're already like a year behind. And a federal district judge said, no, they can come to work unpaid just like air traffic controllers and keep working on this backlog for veterans. So I really appreciate what the court did. No, Dot, this is not how anybody's mother raised them, damn it. And that's what we got to do. We got to remind this younger generation that's not who we are, and that's not how we are. Oh, well, thank you, Sherry, and thank you for watching in from Massachusetts. And I want some, that's Cheryl, I'm sorry. I want some input on what y'all think of Seth Moulton. He's a veteran running to unseat Mr. Markley, Senator Markley. And I'm just interested on feedback from actual residents there on what you think about that race that's going to be next year. See if that's something maybe our community needs to talk about. Callista, he doesn't intend to leave, but you know what? He's 80 years old. Let's do the math here. That's what I want people to understand, and that's what really aggravates me. Excuse me, this cold weather's got my nose running. About the arrogance of all of our politicians, and why, if you go back, remember, thankfully all of y'all did and submitted your ideas for our three things that we want from someone running for office. But under voting rights, we put in term limits and age limits for the judiciary. For those of us that worked in big business, those of you who've worked anywhere, the arrogance of people thinking, oh, only I can do it, so I'll just sit here. Let me tell you, when you die, they don't even have you in the casket before people are fighting over your office and your job. You are replaceable. We are all in the workforce replaceable. So these politicians that think, well, I got to keep running because, nobody else can get elected. No, you're getting elected because of Citizens United, and you got these big-ass war chests, and you won't step aside for really young, talented, energetic people. And I don't care who you are. You get to be a certain age, and afternoon naps become a necessity. They absolutely, just like being a kid again, you got to have your little afternoon nap time or you get a little cranky. And even I know correct words, and I'll listen to my playback and I misspeak or I might stumble over something. Now I'm not wrong on my facts, but I might misspeak or mispronounce, and that's age, and that's normal, and that's natural. But that's not what we need in Congress and the Senate or in the judiciary. Step aside. You should have already been mentoring somebody to step up and replace you. Taco's 80 years old. Love Joe Biden to death, but we saw what that got us. Taco's ass is going to come out of there. He's going to get voted out of there, and he ain't going to live forever. Remember that, Stephen Miller. You think you're a little puppet master? And I don't think that Jimmy Hamill's going to put up with Stephen Miller 2 rainy days and a foggy morning. Okie doke. I'll get off my high horse there. I'm watching my time because I don't want to hold y'all up. Yes, it is a fact that in Ivanka's book, no, Ivana's book, that she had stated that he was fascinated with Hitler and had his book next to the bedside. That's a fact. Yeah, little old JD, he's enjoying what's happening to our farmers. He's buying up everything that he can. Him and old Peter Thiel, our South African white nationalist. Okay. Well, thank you, Eileen. Now, what I'd like y'all to do is to help me grow this platform. So, if you could continue to share and ask people to follow, we'd like to build up so we've got a little bit of clout when we go to these places and talk to these politicians so we can get done what needs to be done. Listen, people, this is how the MAGA movement did it. They got to where they realized that the Rogans of the world, the Kirks of the world, the Tellericos of the world, and the Steve Bannons of the world, they started getting political clout and capital because they had a lot of followers. And the Democrats didn't do that very well. And that's what the My Haddock girls are doing it. That's what Leanne's doing with Politics Girl. That's what Paul Schroeder's doing with Texas Paul. And that's what Mamaw hopes to do. We need to build political capital for each of our demographics. So my demographic is women primarily and men of a certain age who are like, hey, we ain't dead and we have rights too, and these are the things that we know need to be done because of our lifetime and our knowledge of history and our being living history. So that's what we want to do. So if you could ever share my stuff on your platforms and encourage people, I'd appreciate it. Now, I'm doing really well on Substack these days. So if you all are lined up on Substack, I ask you to. Substack does some neat things, and I've got interviews there. I've got another interview coming up, I think, Wednesday of this week, and it'll be on a Substack platform. So if you get a chance to be on Substack and Blue Sky, all of my material, everything I have ever done is on YouTube. So it's interesting. I go back, like earlier this summer, I did something on food insecurity and eating poor. And by the way, I've got a crock pot full of beans that I soaked all night long and I'm cooking with a big old ham bone in it. That's called eating poor, people. And we learned how to eat poor when we were kids. And people need to learn to eat poor. You can't keep buying this pre-made stuff you throw in the microwave. It's expensive. It's not healthy. It's high on salt. That's what the taco's counting on. Go buy you a bag of beans, soak them overnight, cook them in a crock pot, and learn to eat poor. It's same with canning, putting out your little... Remember in World War II, everybody had a victory garden? Put you out a little box garden. You'd be amazed how much you can eat out of that and how much money you'll save. That's why a lot of people are getting yard chickens. You know what? Them eggs are good protein, and don't take much to feed a chicken. So, there you go. Okay, Alicia, you're in Massachusetts. You'll always vote for Mark Lee, but if Seth is tougher, he's got my vote. I just like Seth's backstory. I know that some people are offended by what he said, but if you really listen to it, he wasn't digging anybody. But he has got quite an education. He's a Marine Corps combat veteran. And the reason I really want to start supporting these veterans running for the Senate and Congress is for one reason and one reason only. I'm supporting people who remember their oath to the Constitution. Now, yes, we have some people that are in office that were veterans that plumb forgot, and they need to come out of there, and shame on them. But I'm really looking for young, energetic veterans who remember their oath to the Constitution, because above all, that's who makes us who we are. We are ruled by laws. We all got into a social contract in 1776, and we agreed in this social contract that we would use the Constitution to base our laws, and we would all comply with these laws. That's what it's about. It's this big social contract that nowhere else in the world had ever tried. Not being ruled by fist, but being ruled by social agreement. That's what I'm looking for. And these veterans that swore to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that's who we need in office. They will put the Constitution, they will put their brother and sister ahead of themselves. And we've got people in Congress and the Senate that forgot that. They're worried about their treasure chest. They're worried about their reelection. Let's find people that will put other people first. And especially a combat veteran, they're in there, they're fighting for the person next to them. They're not fighting for these presidents and senators and all that. They're fighting for the guy next to them. And that's what I want in Congress, and that's what I want in my senator. I want somebody that's going to fight for me. So with that, I've kept you all for almost 40 minutes. We're doing good on our Sunday mornings. Jump back on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And you can direct message me if you have any ideas of things you'd like covered. And let me know about people that'll be running next year for Congress and the Senate that you think need some porch community support. Okay. Love you all. Tried to deport your first... I know, he's deporting it. And I'm thinking, let's start with your wives, Taco. And let's start with the current wife. I am like Amy Klobuchar. There's something awful hanky in that 10-year gap of Melania's visa issue. She had a visa, it expired, she disappears. I mean, for 10 years, there's no accounting for her ever pulling another visa, and then suddenly she gets an Einstein visa. Or how about Bernardo Moreno, the senator from Ohio, who is, half of his siblings are still Colombian residents and citizens. He's got siblings that are dual citizens of Colombia and the U.S. His parents are Colombian citizens who lived in the U.S. He has a brother who is the Colombian ambassador to the U.S. He has another brother who has the largest construction company in Colombia. And now Bernie Moreno's main family business is not luxury cars. He sold that a while back. It's a cryptocurrency exchange. What the hell could go wrong, people? So yeah, I'm like you. Let's look in the background of a lot of these folk. Shar, somebody's got to do it, and I am just blessed that you all are in the same boat that I'm in. Thank you, Renee. You have a great day too. Well, with that, I'll sign off. God love you. Stay salty. And by golly, they're finding out there's a bunch of people running around using outside voices these days, aren't there? Bye-bye.